And Johnny, let's close things out with some breaking news. Kind of like the little ticker thing going across.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier on the podcast, first off, rate and review the podcast on Apple iTunes. I forgot to do it for the Falcon one and promote something, so I'll do it here. Rate and review the Rick and Johnny podcast on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Every 5-star rating. I believe we are still the only, and I'm going to look it up right now to see if we still have our pristine, our perfect 5 out of 5 rating, or if one of you douchebags didn't put a 5.
Actually, I went and put a 4.
Out of 5 ratings, Johnny, we are a 5 out of 5. Sung Hyung says, very good podcast on comics, movies, TV shows, etc. And Nick Peaks found you guys on YouTube, and I can't get enough. Love the MVP. Thanks for doing what you do. Smiley face. And thank you guys for doing what you do. Make sure to rate and review the podcast on iTunes. Helps us get into the ears of more people. But Johnny, before we talk about breaking news, that Marvel is maybe, rumoredly, looking at Hugh Jackman to play Norman Osborn in the MCU. I have a Wolverine question for you, and I throw this in here because Hugh Jackman. Now I gotta stop, think myself so I don't say Hugh Jackman.
Think how to actually say his name.
So we got a comment by, I'm just gonna call him Trix. And on our Momoa discussion a couple weeks ago, here's what he said. Our question was, should Marvel cast Jason Momoa as Wolverine? He says no. They never got Wolverine's costume right anyways. They made him too middle-aged dad Wolverine. Wolverine has a mask, and they never did it, so F them. This coming from an X-Force, New Mutants, and X-Men fan. Every single X-Men movie has been trash anyways. And then I responded, so you don't trust Disney or Marvel Studios to do so you don't trust Disney and Marvel Studios to do him the right way? Just want to hear your opinion. And he or she responded with, they have never done Wolverine right because they are scared to put the mask on. Hollywood also likes to show actors' faces too much, which at last point I was kind of like, kind of right. Because yes, we got a mask for Steve Rogers, but towards the end, it was
mask always came off.
Mask was always off, and we saw him for who he was. Iron Man.
We get a 50-50 on that one.
But yet again, he was enough of Tony Stark to where we got him without the mask.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, do you think that Disney will do him the right way? Because that's subjective. Do you think we'll get a mask for MCU Wolverine?
So
That's basically
I want to kind of clear one thing up, though, because they said they didn't do him right. I think this person might be forgetting, at least from what it sounds like in the conversation, that Fox didn't do him right. Not Disney. There's Disney's Marvel. There's Fox's Marvel.
And that's why I asked
this is only
Disney
now
question.
This is only now that they're connected. I just want to get that clear, though, because so you're
saying Fox never did him right.
Fox didn't do him right in that aspect. I think they did a great job hiring Hugh Jackman. One of the few ones they got spot on, like Disney gets for a majority of their actors.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. They didn't do him right. It would do it justice to, I would say, keep doing the Disney motto. At least give us the mask this time. He doesn't have to wear it the whole time. Because guess what? I want to see the actor's face too, to some degree. But I also want to see the mask.
Give me the mask.
Give me the mask. You do it Captain America style. Captain America, a lot of times, has his helmet on for battle, except what? Infinity War? And a few other times.
After Civil War is basically when they retired the mask completely.
And guess what? He was wearing it once again in Endgame. So the helmet came back. I'll call it a helmet. It was more of a helmet than a mask.
Yeah.
But still. So I agree with you. Wolverine, at least give me some of him wearing the mask. Give me it during battle. Hell, give it to me most of battle and then kind of the pull off and the end of the battle you can still see his face. Because guess what? I want to see kind of both. When you're wearing the mask, a lot of times that's a lot of CGI to get emotion shown. Yeah, it makes it less realistic. So Marvel, Marvel Disney kind of trying to throw some of that realism aspect into it. That's just my opinion.
So I don't know if I'm stealing your thunder here.
Usually you are.
But I'm going to try to guess. So you said you're going to breaking news me on the podcast. Is it the article that says Ryan Reynolds will play a different version of Deadpool?
No, I've seen that too, but no, I didn't.
Okay. So basically what I was going to say is moving on from that is, so we're moving on from Wolverine Hugh Jackman to Hugh Jackman now to where
Yes.
There's an article from WeGotThisCovered.com that says Marvel also eyeing Hugh Jackman for Norman Osborn. This is what it says. Marvel really wants to work with Hugh Jackman, and honestly, why wouldn't they? Though the iconic actor has since retired from the comic book movie game, Kevin Feige and company are eager to get him back on board. For starters, they're still hopeful he'll return as Wolverine, which seems unlikely, but given the amount of money they'd no doubt offer him, you never know. Failing that, though, we've heard from our sources that Marvel wants Hugh Jackman in the MCU as a villain, and they have two characters in particular in mind for him to play. The first is Doctor Doom. The second is none other than Norman Osborn, who expected to make his debut very, very soon. From what we understand, it's still a bit unclear if Marvel will be able to use him in the MCU, as Sony may want Osborn for their Sony universe of Marvel characters franchise instead. There's a chance they could share him as they're doing with Spidey, but things are still up in the air apparently. If Kevin Feige and company get the go-ahead to have the villain in their cinematic universe, though, Jackman is apparently one of several actors they like for the role, since, as we said above, the studio wants him as a villain, if not as Wolvie. That's not to say this is for sure to happen, of course, and as with the other parts they're eyeing him for, it's unknown if a formal offer has actually been made or if this is just an idea at this point. But either way, having the X-Men star in the MCU can only be a good thing, and seeing him as Norman Osborn is in particular would no doubt be hugely exciting for fans. So here's the first thing I'm going to say. I get it. We all want to see Wolverine back, or we all want to see
Hugh Jackman
back as Wolverine. But guess what?
I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, it ain't ever. I'm telling you right now, I don't think it's going to happen. I know it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And the reason why I know it's never going to happen is, first off, all good things come to an end. Number two, Hugh Jackman is what, 50?
55, I think.
Is he 55? He is
54, 55?
50. 50 right
Really?
right on the button.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought he was a little bit older than that.
He's a little young for 50. He's looking a little young for 50. Or old for 50, because Johnny thinks he was older.
Well, no, I was ballparking. I thought I heard he was.
He's going to be 51 this October.
Okay,
October
well, good
12th.
for him. He looks good for his age anyways.
So, being 50, and Hugh Jackman has said this before in interviews, towards the end of his, like, Logan-esque career, it was hard keeping in shape, and the amount of things he had to do to keep in shape for that Wolverine character.
Exactly.
To where after Logan, after the performance we saw as Logan, after, like, basically with the, what's his name? I'm blanking on it. Xavier. Patrick Stewart. With him in the theater going, I'm done. Like, this is it. This is my swan song for Professor X. Why would it kind of reminds me of Michael Jordan in a way, Johnny. Michael Jordan won his 6th championship in 1998. Retired for a second time. We all thought he was all done. And then came back and played for the Washington Wizards. It's like, why? Why are you doing this to us? Don't, like, just retire. Be happy.
Yeah.
And in this case, it's a little different because, like, different roles are different. But when it comes to Wolverine,
You ended on a good note.
you ended on a high note.
Let sleeping dogs lie.
We had great memories with you. Let's not spoil those memories.
Exactly.
Let's keep them and cherish them for what they were. So I think Marvel just stop trying to pursue him as Wolverine. Now the other part, the Doctor Doom, Norman Osborn. I'll ask you, which one would you rather him be, Doctor Doom or Norman Osborn?
I mean, as much as I would like to see him as Doctor Doom, my money's on he doesn't want to keep doing a lot of roles at that point, and I would put him as Norman Osborn because that gives him the option to, hey, one movie and I'm done.
One movie and he's done.
Let me put it this way.
Comes the Green Goblin.
Hear me out before we go into that route. One movie and I'm done. They use Norman Osborn to introduce Otto Octavius. Works for Norman Osborn. Whole accident happens. The arms fuse to him. That's how we get and then who knows if we're getting another Spider-Man movie after that anyways.
Yeah, apparently they want to do one more.
Yeah. Use that as the Otto Octavius intro.
Here's the reason I like that. And the reason why I like that is in the comics, although I think his name's not different. So in the comics, you have Ned Leeds becomes the Hobgoblin. If they already have Ned Leeds, there's been rumors that eventually they would like to do the Hobgoblin character and can transition him over into that. Or it could be, no, we just had him as Ned Leeds because that's the name we wanted to use.
Yeah.
But if you're going to use the Hobgoblin is a character of the Sinister Six or one of the versions of them. If you then introduce Dr. Octavius, you then have Octavius, you have Mysterio, you have Vulture, you have Scorpion, you have then Hobgoblin. You just need one more. And that one more could be an introducing of Electro. It could be you can throw the Shocker in there because technically you've already had the Shocker in there.
Potentially Sandman if you had him from Far From Home.
True, because
or Hydro Man if he's...
Because we haven't seen Far From Home yet, and from what you and I think, or what if the Chameleon? Would the Chameleon join
if he's the one faking Nick Fury, like we think, or been theorizing.
There's several different options that you could use for that Sinister Six. And I feel like if you're going to do the Hobgoblin, why have Norman be the Green Goblin?
Exactly.
They're too
and
similar.
I would just keep him as Norman Osborn, but it would still you can sort of villainize him in the sense of...
He fucked over Octavius.
Exactly.
It's funny that you say that because you basically laid out the story of the video game.
Did I really?
Yes. So
that's
in
hilarious.
The video game,
because I've never played it.
If you haven't played it, spoilers. So what happens is you're Peter Parker, right? And it's an older Peter Parker. So I want to say you're college intern because you're interning I think it's college age, but you're not in college classes. You're working with Dr. Octavius.
Yeah, you can still intern without being in college.
Basically, with the their project that they're working on is prosthetic arms and robotic prosthetic arms, which later becomes his fucking arms.
Oh, hey, what do you know?
But what happens is in that, Norman Osborn is the one that right now is funding the project. Well, what happens is at some point in the game, he cuts the funding. And it's like, we have no money to continue this, to where basically Octavius goes on the deep end or jumps off the deep end and goes crazy. And you basically laid out the entire story of Norman Osborn. And it's kind of like they lead into then a side story of like Octavius and Osborn were in together before Osborn fucked him over and made Oscorp. Like they were together with Oscorp, and then he said, fuck you. And that's what it was. So they were together. Norman fucked him over. Now he's over doing his own thing. And then Norman cuts the funding for Octavius's thing. So he jumps off the deep end and then becomes Doc Ock. And then you've got to stop him at the very end.
Okay.
Where Peter makes his own Spidey suit to stop Doc Ock at the very end. And you could do that in the MCU, but I feel like that'd be like, hey, we're doing the same thing that they did in the video game.
It leaves the window open, though, if Hugh Jackman will be willing to return for more than one movie. Yeah. Hey, we can have a Green Goblin.
That's why I feel like just let him be, like, if you're not going to make Keanu Reeves, make him Doctor Doom. I can see him being a good Doctor Doom.
That too.
Because if you want him for a villainous role, could you imagine him, like, think of the Doctor Doom we got in the original not Fan Four Stick, the original Fantastic Four. Could you imagine him being that kind of a Doctor Doom?
He would do a good job.
Kind of like a dick, but then gets the powers, and then seeing him in the full metal suit with the cloak. The only thing with Doctor Doom that's a little iffy is Disney going to continue the Doctor Doom solo project that Fox had?
That's why I'm like, I feel like you'd use Doctor Doom more often than you're going to use Norman Osborn. Because Norman Osborn, you can just leave it. If Hugh Jackman does not want to do it again, but you want to get him in there as Norman Osborn, hey, okay, fine, one and done deal. You're in this movie, you're going to go over Octavius, you're still going to be a villain in some degree.
Yeah.
And if you decide you want to come back, we can Green Goblin you. But if not, hey, that's it. Doctor Doom, I feel like, you're going to have a Fantastic Four movie. I feel like he's going to continue on here and there a little bit.
Yeah, and this is...
But since we were on Spider-Man, I do want to go. Guess who wants to reprise a role in a Spider-Man film? The actor was in... No. The actor was in another Spider-Man film and wants to reprise his role in the new Spider-Man movies. Or would like to, I should say.
Was it Garfield?
Nope.
Is it Raimi? Or is it... so it's not Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield?
No.
Is it... Which one is it from? Which Spider-Man were they in?
The first one.
The Raimis?
Yeah. You want an obvious clue?
No, don't tell me. It's not the guy who played Norman. It's not William Dafoe, is it? Oh, is it fucking Topher Grace?
Nope.
No? Give me a hint.
I want pictures of Spider-Man.
Oh, J.K.
Simmons said he would like to reprise his role as J. Jonah Jameson.
I say
I have to find the article.
He's the Triple J, man.
Yeah, no, I love him as Triple J. Bring him back. Because
they haven't introduced a Triple J.
No, they haven't.
And I'm trying to think, like, the way you make a Triple J is after Spider-Man graduates high school, his first job is at the Daily Bugle?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to I didn't want to say the one for...
Daily Planet is...
Because I always get the Daily Planet and the Daily Bugle.
Daily Bugle is the J. Jonah Jameson.
And Daily Planet is Superman.
You don't need to have him work there right off the bat. You can just have the Daily Bugle be a newspaper, or how like they do in the Spider-Man cartoon. What was that?
You're talking about the Ultimate Spider-Man?
Ultimate Spider-Man. He's just on a TV screen ranting about...
Yeah. Well... That's even in the video game I liked.
That's right, you were telling me that.
They made it modernized where you could just be swinging and then all of a sudden the J. Jonah Jameson podcast will start playing. And it's just fun little rants.
He's a menace.
Who did the voice of Triple J in that one? Let's see. Spider-Man, PS4, IMDb. Let's see. Who did the voice of Triple J in that game? And in that one, it was Darlin DePaul. The guy who did Reinhardt did Triple J.
Oh, really?
J. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting too. Guess who? So Darren DePaul is Reinhardt, right? Mm-hmm. Guess what character he was in Shazam? Sin.
Really?
Mm-hmm. He was in Shazam. So that's interesting.
Since we're getting off topic,
he was also in Triple J.
Getting off topic of people who did voices. You know who also did the voice? The voice of Surtur. Guess what other voice he did?
Of Surtur?
From Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. Oh, he was in a SpongeBob.
Mr. Krabs.
Mr. Krabs, yeah. I knew that one. That's the one that I knew.
I think I showed you that meme
but
before.
With getting back to Hugh Jackman,
Yes.
do you think, I'll put this as the last thing I reference with this.
Yeah.
What's the percentage you think he actually gets a part in the MCU and we actually see him? Because yes, Marvel wants him, but does he want to come back and do a superhero movie again?
I think he's only gonna. I think the as of now, from what it seemed like, everything, the less likely the role is going to continue, the higher the percentage is going to be that he'll come back.
Okay, so he is.
I feel
when we
like
talk about Keanu Reeves, he is the one and done.
I think he's more of a one and done.
Okay,
Because that's what it seemed like when he was trying to get out of Wolverine. It's like, I don't think he wants to go back into a role that's going to be
and that's why
17
we're never
years.
going to see him as Wolverine.
No, I don't think he's going to come back as Wolvie.
And I mean, Osborn, though, is one they could, as a recurring, it might, like, in talks with Kevin Feige, it might lessen because you don't have to have as big of a regimen. It's not as demanding as when you were Wolverine.
Exactly.
The only question is, if you're going to have Norman Osborn, is he going to become the Green Goblin? Because then you're thinking, wow, okay, I'm going to be in more movies.
Or
then
you get
I'm gonna
around
be in
that
the Green
by
Goblin
doing the
suit.
Hobgoblin.
Exactly. And that's why I think they're going to go the route of the Hobgoblin instead of the Green Goblin. Because they have Ned. We're setting him up in another movie. However, this movie, it looks like him and Betty Brant are together in this one. I don't know and I could look up here, before let's see, Daily Bugle, The Jackal and Marriage. Let's see, The Jackal clones Spider-Man and Gwen Stacy. Let's see, when does he, okay. Triple J assigned Ned the investigation into the new villain known as the Hobgoblin. One night, Ned followed the mysterious Hobgoblin after a confrontation with Spider-Man, only to be caught and brainwashed by Hobby into doing criminal acts. The Winkler brainwashing process intermittently convinced Ned he actually was the Hobgoblin, leading him to act in Roderick Kingsley's place on several occasions. Kingsley used Leeds' connections to orchestrate an alliance with Richard Fisk under the name The Rose. Fisk, believing Leeds was the Hobgoblin and his friend, came to New York and set up a criminal operation with Hobgoblin as his partner, eventually coming to Death, the Kingpin, his father. So I don't know if they do it exactly like that in the MCU, because like you said, we don't have a Triple J, we don't have Daily Bugle, and it's still unknown if they do the Hobgoblin. They just could, because they have Ned Leeds. I'm going to say with Hugh Jackman, though, I'm going to go 40%. That's kind of the number I'm thinking. 40% we see
Sounds like
him
a fair percent.
in the MCU. I think there's a good chance, but I wouldn't hold my breath on him being a character in the MCU. There's a higher chance for the Keanu Reeves.
Oh, for sure.
Is going to get a character than Hugh Jackman. How about you? If you had to give it a percentage, what would you say?
I'd say I can agree with you on that. 40% sounds like a fair.
Okay. I didn't
amount.
think if you were going to go, because at first I thought 40, then I'm like, maybe a 50-50, but then I went back to that 40.
I think 40 is fair because, like I
head.
said, he kind of wants to be it seems like he wants to be a one and done. I could be very wrong. He could be like, yeah, get me into the MCU.
Yeah. And does he have any upcoming projects? So he's got 1 in post-production, 2 in pre-production with Bad Education, The Good Spy, where he's rumored to be in that one, and then Reminiscence. So we'll see. Logan, obviously the last superhero movie he did. Since then, it was The Greatest Showman, The Front Runner, and then Missing Link were the movies that he's done since Logan. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. Also, make sure to support us on Patreon, patreon.com/mostvalepodcast. We cannot do these podcasts without the support of our patrons, so we thank them for their loyal support. Make sure to also rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. Also, make sure to follow us on Twitch and sub to us, twitch.tv/most valuable podcast. Johnny on Twitter is War Machine 9085. I am at Ricky Widmer. Most Valuable Podcasts is at Most Valuable Pod. Want to thank you guys for watching this on YouTube. Thank you guys for listening on podcast services around the world. And as always, have a good day, everybody.